Okay, we're gonna see if this is the start of the show. Is it? Are we good now? You think, Danny? Hold up, I gotta unmute. Yeah, you good? You think you're good?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, welcome back to 94 Feet, ladies and gentlemen. A bit of technical difficulties, nothing new on this show. I feel like
Hey,
we've
it
seen
happens once in a while for us.
before.
What can we
Exactly.
say?
I know. Dude, I took one AirPod out, the whole thing froze, and then I refreshed it, and that's what screwed us over. But hey, that's okay. We're doing good. As mentioned, welcome back to 94 Feet. We've got, we're going to shorten this one up a little bit, not talk about too many crazy stuff. I mean, obviously, headline the NBA injuries. I feel like, Danny, this might just be me, but I feel like just big time injuries have kind of been at a high so far at this point of the season. I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week with LeBron. LaMelo's in that same category. Now we've got a few other stars in the league kind of putting themselves in that position. So we'll talk about that. Obviously, got to talk about the Suns a little bit. KD finally making his debut in a Suns uniform. Big stuff right there. Keep it with fit of the week. And then we'll also talk a little bit of luxury collabs. Nike releasing their Tiffany & Co. Air Force One later this month. So we're going to talk about that. My guess we'll probably talk about the dunk that they released a few years back, the Tiffany & Co. dunk. To maybe some of the other high-end collabs that we've seen. I mean, we've talked about Gucci and Adidas on here before, stuff like that. If it really is worth the hype, if it's worth spending that much money on something like that, all that stuff. But hey, Danny, as usual, hey, it's spring break now. How you doing?
Hey, I had a great day, Kate. No work today, no school. It was a great day. What can I say? I'm doing great. Spring break gonna be chill for me. I know you're gonna be out and about, but I'm doing good. Glad to be on a show late night. Little tired, but hey, it's all good. How you doing, Kate?
I'm chilling. Like I said, I'm happy it's spring break. Last spring break for me, so I got to make the best of it. A little scary, but got to make something good out of
Hey,
it.
you going to Mexico? Be safe.
Hey, we'll try our best. I won't end up on any avocado farms or anything like that. Shoot, but yeah, no, I mean, hey, real quick, we got to talk about your the haul you got earlier today. Got a little vintage shopping in there.
Hey, yeah, went out vintage shopping. I needed my goal today was I just needed some more accessories. Came back with like 4 new hats. Excited to throw on some new fits. I got this crazy LA Times vintage tee with I don't even know who's on the face, but it's like an all over print. So I came back with some good finds. I love the flea markets because obviously no tax, you don't got to pay. I don't mind paying an extra couple dollars because you don't got to pay what Depop or Grailed or eBay for shipping and handling. I mean, you're just getting it right there. No tax, no nothing. So flea markets can't go wrong anytime.
Oh yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I mean, I feel like almost all the new clothes I've gotten, if it hasn't come from something that I need to get, whether it's school work related, anything like that, if I'm not spending money on that, I'm spending money at like the flea markets, the vintage fairs, all that stuff. Worth it, especially if you're in the Phoenix area. Plenty of stuff to check out. I feel like it seems like they have one almost every weekend at this point, whether it's the flea markets, vintage, any of those things. So definitely worth checking out. But yeah, no, solid stuff. I need to get myself out to one of those within the next few weeks. But Danny, real quick, we agreed to start with the Suns, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's hit it then. Suns, KD's finally made his debut in a Suns uniform. It's been glorious so far. Danny, I'll let you kind of lead into this one just because I've got a lot to say on it, and I want to hear your opinions first. I kind of want to see what we could build off of.
Okay. Okay. Hey, cool. I mean, I'll take the Suns topic first. My biggest takeaway from what I've seen just in 3 games, I think I said this when they traded for KD, but I'm a double down now. No. Okay, I'll say this. When the Suns traded for KD, I said the Nuggets were still the favorite. But 3 games in, Kate, I saw with my own eyes. This Suns team is the new favorite out west. Talked about this earlier. This is the first time in Devin Booker's career he's the second option. And what did he do against the Mavs today? I mean, he still had 36 points. Chris Paul, he's not going to have as much of a load as usual come down the stretch. He's able to dish out. I mean, he's still a point guard. He's still going to hit his shots. But Kevin Durant, man, he's just the easiest superstar in NBA history, I believe, to play with. He can plug and play in any lineup, and he's just going to hit his shot. He's the most efficient superstar of all time. These last 3 games, 23 points, 10 from 15 from the field against the Hornets a couple nights ago. Against the Bulls, 20 points, 7 for 10, only 10 shots. And then against the Mavs earlier today, 37 points, off 17 shots. I mean, he doesn't need his shots, but when he's taking his shots, he's gonna hit them. So that's really my biggest takeaway so far. Out west, I know how well the Nuggets have been playing, but come playoff time, we really haven't seen Jokic dominate a series just yet. Or I mean, take over a series, I should say. And I think the Suns are the best team right now. They're the new favorites.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you mentioned that I think I can kind of add to and resonate with is the fact that you look at this team now. Obviously, I agree. I think after this KD trade was in, I mean, I like this team a lot more. I think having a superstar like Kevin Durant obviously was going to be a massive help. But I wanted to play that safe rollout, being, yeah, they're going to be a great team now with the addition of Kevin Durant. But it's just so hard to believe that was going to be one of the top teams in the West. They might be a better team. They might be a great team, but I just could not commit myself to the idea that this was going to be one of the top teams in the West. 3 games in, and I cannot tell you how satisfied I am with how this team has played so far. I mean, it shows how dangerous this team is. As you mentioned, you go through the stat lines on his debut against the Hornets. He only put up 23 points. A solid 23, nothing crazy. But you say D-Book is that second option. He put up 37 that game. So you're talking about all eyes on Kevin Durant, and the league forgets that Devin Booker's a superstar in his own right. So he puts up 37 in that game. You go to the Bulls, a team that Devin Booker has dominated the past few times that they've played. I think averaging 40 points going to the game on Friday. Plays that game, gets a 35-point game. Again, another situation. KD doesn't go out there. He doesn't put up crazy points, crazy numbers that you'd see out of a superstar typically, but he does enough and gets enough attention away from Devin Booker where Devin Booker can go out there and cook. You look at today, the biggest test that they've seen so far this season since adding Kevin Durant with the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, Kyrie, Kevin Durant, former teammates earlier this season. A lot of storylines going into this game, and it was similar in the sense that you see the attention be put on Kevin Durant. Devin Booker is able to go out there, get points. Again, another 30-point game, I think 36 today. But then obviously we knew it was going to be a high-scoring game. It was going to be a game that they were going to have to fight to win for. I mean, Dallas was up 8 late in the third quarter. I think even going into the fourth quarter at one point. I mean, they had a decent lead. They were holding on to that lead for a decent chunk of the second half. But of course, then Kevin Durant takes over the mid-range mafia and puts up 37 himself. So you look at this team right now, it's scary the way this team is built. It's scary that you can focus on Kevin Durant and Devin Booker is going to be the one to get those big shots. You can focus on Devin Booker and you're not even limiting. You're giving every opportunity to give Kevin Durant big time buckets. And not to mention, you're still talking about CP3. We can talk. I mean, obviously, I'll sit here and say and fully agree that CP3 is past his prime. He's a player on this team that isn't going to necessarily be the benefit that a lot of fans were hoping that he would be at this point. But he's still going to go out there. And those two players in Durant and D-Book are going to draw enough attention away to where Chris Paul is going to be able to work on that mid-range. DeAndre Ayton has been a little lackluster. We'll forget about that. Josh Okogie, another guy that I think a lot of people really weren't expecting to be in this position. And now that he's in that position, he's flourishing. So as mentioned, going into the beginning with this trade happening, I was reluctant to say the Phoenix Suns were going to be one of the best teams in the West. 3 games into it, I mean, if I know you saw the tweet earlier. I love this team. Maybe it's that Olympic connection. Maybe it's just the fact that this is the first time Kevin Durant's playing with another superstar who isn't, in a sense, all about himself. I mean, this is a scary, scary team.
I will say this, as I do think that they're the favorites out of the West. But I don't love this team. I really don't. I mean, if we just compare what I think the 2 best teams in the West are, the Suns and the Nuggets, 2 completely opposite teams. The Nuggets, I mean, their starting 5 is just perfect. Like, they just all click together. Everyone has their own roles. Deep bench, really probably deepest bench in the league behind the Clippers. They got shooters, defense, 3-and-D guys. And I look at the Suns team, and, they're just so top heavy with KD and D-Book. They're going to be tested, I feel like, and I think they're going to lose some games coming up. I mean, they got the Kings, Warriors, and Bucks. Those are the 3 matches that are their next 4 games. 3 playoff teams, and I think they're going to lose because depth is going to be a concern for this Phoenix team. If you just think of past teams for Phoenix. You think wing defenders? I mean, Jay Crowder, Torrey Craig. I know he's still on the team, not getting too many minutes. Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, obviously. They don't really have too many wing defenders. Let's be honest. They don't have too much depth, and they've won 3 games in a row, but it's against the Hornets, the Bulls, and the Mavs, who, I mean, Mavs are a good team, but they haven't looked that good with Kyrie and Luka. Are you concerned come playoff time? Are they going to have enough dudes?
I think by playoff time, if this team is healthy, that's all they need really at this point. I mean, you saw what happened today. Kevin Durant went up there playing 40 minutes on what would have been a time restriction. Balled out completely. And I think one of the things that really is the scary part, at least what I think, maybe not necessarily scary depending on the way you look at it, but it's the fact that they went out there, put up 130 points, and they didn't really rely on a three. Like, that's, I think, scary enough in itself that you can go out there, put up 130 points, and your superstars are not relying on the three-point shot to get you 130 points. Now, obviously, the Suns were able to come back in that game. They had the 8-point deficit that they were pretty much playing with the entirety of the second half. It wasn't until Ish Wainwright went out there, hit a few threes of his own, brought that team back to life. And obviously, of course, it started that Suns run to put them back on top, give them that lead, give them the win. But I get where you're coming from. Wing defenders were the difference maker in this Suns team in the past. But you look at last year, the Suns lost that series to the Cavs, or not the Cavs, my bad, the Mavs, because they didn't have that solid, good enough wing defense. You know, they were able to play defense. They were able to play decent defense, but they weren't able to get that wing defense. Last year during that playoff series, it always just seemed like they'd either try getting the foul down low, which, let's be honest here, Luke always gets fouls down low. It's always going to happen. Or if it wasn't something down low, it was going to pop right back out to the top of the key. You're going to hit 2 quick passes. By the time it gets to the corner, you're hitting Reggie Bullock for a wide open 3. I mean, that's how they won that series last year, was a heavy reliance on the 3, and it worked out for them so well. Now, obviously, this is a different team, but it shows that the wing perimeter defense that the Suns had played had its flaws. And they obviously went out of their way to find a different direction going into this trade deadline. They went out and get a superstar, taking away from the idea of that defensive side and focusing more on offense. We've talked about it here in the past, especially with the Boston Celtics. We're looking at it with the Clippers this year. It's teams that play very good defense have the opportunity to go to the NBA Finals, but I still don't think it's teams that have really good defenses can win the NBA Finals unless they have an offense to back it up. In a situation like this, again, the Suns might not have the best defense. I mean, you can't sleep on the players they have right now, though. Kogie's not a terrible defender. Kevin Durant's a very slept-on defender because his offense is incredible. And now, don't get me wrong, he's not a great defensive player, but I mean, he's shown that he can have those defensive capabilities that are necessary to help this team advance. And of course, you obviously look at players like Torrey Craig. I mean, you have those defensive anchors that are on that team, but they've switched that from relying on trying to get stops on defense and hoping that Devin Booker, maybe DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul can score, to just opening up the entire playbook on the offensive side and hoping that their defense can get a few stops here and there, and that maybe the team they're playing, the opponent, goes a little bit cold, and the Suns are able to run away with whatever game they have.
I'll hop in real quick. Something you mentioned the Clippers, Cade. I think the Clippers are the one team. The Suns right now sitting at the 4 seed. Clippers win a couple games, they could find themselves at the 5 seed. I think the Clippers are the one team the Suns are not going to want to face come playoff time, just because I know Josh Okogie is a solid defender. What is he, 6'4" at most? D Book, solid defender. He's what, 6'3"? Ish Wainwright, another solid defender. I mean, what is he? Is he 6'3" too? They don't have the height to match him.
I think you're all low on those, honestly. I think
D
Book's 6'6" or 6'5".
Okay.
Okogie, let's check him real quick. Keep going, though. I'll check these real quick.
Yeah, you can fact check on me that. But I mean, it's like Paul George, Kawhi. I mean, these are 2 of the some of the best wings in the league, and I mean, thankfully the Clippers haven't played too many games together where they're kind of still figuring out things. They just got Russell Westbrook. I don't know why they did that, but they did. But I think the Clippers and I think the Lakers are another team that the Suns, if the Lakers make the playoffs, that's another team they're not going to want to get matched up with just because the Lakers' size. And I don't know. I really do think Torrey Craig, I kind of want him to start, Kate. I don't know what's your take on Torrey Craig, but if I just memory serves, this is a guy who I feel like he's okay with shooting 2 shots a game, and it's that he's probably going to shoot 1 for 2, but like that one shot is going to be a 3 that it's going to be like wide open and he'll hit it, and he's going to play hard defense. And you remember Matisse Thybulle on those those Sixers teams where it's like he's only into play defense. Well, I think Torrey Craig can do that for the Suns, and he's capable of hitting the 3, making a layup. Whereas Matisse Thybulle, he's the best defender on the court, but he couldn't throw a rock in a pool. I mean, that dude couldn't shoot the ball for his life. So, what's your take on Torrey Craig? And do you think I'm going somewhere with this where it's like I don't think the Suns want to get matched up with the Clippers or Lakers?
No, I do. I mean, Torrey Craig's defensive capabilities are the reason he's on this team. That's the reason the Suns traded away Jalen Smith last year to get Torrey Craig back on that Suns team after he had already gone to the NBA Finals with them. I think the Suns' game plan as of now is that you can throw Torrey Craig out there. Obviously, you're going to see guys like KD, D-Book, DA on a good day, obviously, if he's feeling.
And wait, did you get Ishrain White's? Sorry to cut you off. Did you get their heights?
Yeah. 6'5" for both Wainwright and D-Book, and then 6'4" for Okogie. So you're in the ballpark.
Never mind.
So you're right there. But just in general, I feel like Torrey Craig is a great defender. Obviously, he's a guy who's going to be needed on this team on the defensive side. One of the things that Monty has said is that it's a matchup. It's matchup needs. It's either going to be Okogie or Torrey Craig starting, just depending on what that matchup's going to be. But I like Torrey Craig for that role, though. I like him being that defensive anchor. I like him being the guy that, as you mentioned, can go out there, put up 2 shots a game. Doesn't even have to make both those shots, but as long as he's going out there being the defensive anchor, that's all you need out of him. I like that. I just think that as of now, the Suns team's in a position where they're looking at strictly offense. They're not really relying so heavily on the defensive side because, again, you're lacking players like Mikal Bridges. Think about it that way. 2 years ago, they had Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder on the court at the same time. But you think about something like that, that's a ridiculous. That's fantastic defense in itself right there. And you still had the offense of Chris Paul when he was playing, at a better level than he is now. Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton had some big games in the playoffs that year. You're switching that out, but you're also taking a much different approach from the offensive side rather than the defensive side, and I think that really makes the difference here for the Suns team. Now, looking at the Clippers and Lakers, I agree. I think size-wise and just ability to stop scoring, you're right. I think you look at the way that at least the Clippers, especially. We've seen it back when the Warriors played the Raptors in the finals a few years back. Kawhi, obviously, just that game. KD did not play long, but KD was tearing up. The Warriors looked good that game. So I could see where there's that concern there, but I also do like the fact that I think the Suns could handle, not saying they will, but I think they could handle a team like the Clippers. Lakers, on the other hand, you're talking about a lot of tight there. You're talking about a lot of big men there. Anthony Davis has been playing lights out as of recently. You'd assume that if he's healthy by the time the playoffs come around, he's going to be playing at that same caliber. Saw it 2 years back in the first round when they were playing the Suns. When he was healthy, once again, he was playing lights out basketball. Just in general, though, I think it all comes down to health. I think the Lakers are a great they're a much better team than they were before the trade deadline.
We're going to get into Lakers later, too.
Yeah, but I just think.
But Kate, are we the only show that breaks down Josh Okogie and Torrey Craig at the start of the show?
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. hey, there's some good topics there. Shoot, that's when you're talking about a team like the Phoenix Suns, that's the weakest link, and you got to figure out where that weak link is, especially if you're talking about a team that's currently one of the top teams in the league at this point. So, you got to talk about stuff like that. We know what Chris Paul is going to do out there. We know what DeAndre Ayton tries to do out there. And of course, we all know what Devin Booker and D-Book are going to do. Wait, Kevin Durant. And yeah, I said that. So, I just think in general, you look at the way this team's built. I don't know. I was hesitant to say it at first, but right now I still think this is the best team in the West. Do they make it to the finals? I like to say they do, but of course, that's me seeing how they've played over 3 games. Talk to me in a week from now, can be a completely different story. Again, like I said, the one thing that I've also relied on in this situation too is that this is the first time that This is the first time Kevin Durant is playing on a team where he's not playing with another superstar who has had off the court and on the court issues since he was playing with Steph Curry on the Golden State Warriors. And obviously that resulted in 3 NBA Finals appearances, 2 NBA Finals championships, and of course 2 NBA Finals MVPs for Kevin Durant. So that's my perspective on that. I think it's very possible that they can win this entire thing. I'll be honest with you, just as a Suns fan, though, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the here and now. How could we put ourselves in a position to succeed the most in this Western Conference by the time the playoffs come around? And that's going to be the tough part.
Kate, I got nothing else to say other than I think they're the favorite. I think coming up soon, they're going to have to figure. We're really going to see how real the Suns are. They got a tough schedule ahead. I'm excited to see what they can do. I will be betting against them, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, I was going to say, shoot, Bucks coming to town in a few weeks. I mean, they got the Lakers at Staples Center.
Lakers,
Kings, that's going to be a good one. Shoot, I mean, Kings, that could be one of those high-scoring games where it gets into the 50s.
And they got the Nuggets twice, too, in March and April. Ooh.
They got, that's going to be a good one. First time since Christmas that they're playing. As you mentioned, the Lakers, they go to LA twice for that. They play the Clippers for the last game of the season.
Ooh.
Going to be a great time.
Okay.
All right, Dan, you want to hit injuries real quick?
Let's do it. Yeah, who you want to start with?
We'll go chronological order going backwards. So we'll start with Brandon Clark. I only got 4. How many you got?
I only have a LeBron, but I'm prepared to talk about whoever else.
We can hit Memphis real quick with Brandon Clark. Tears his Achilles. He's out for the season. Now Brandon Clark, obviously not a starter, coming off the bench. I mean, I think the biggest storyline out of this isn't necessarily the fact that he tore his Achilles. It's the fact that this team is in shambles right now because of off the court issues. I mean, you have Dylan Brooks.
This is a big loss, though. This is a big loss. Brandon Clark. I mean, this dude, he's one of those hustle players that the Grizzlies. Him and Desmond Bane. I mean, these are the 2 most likable players on the Grizzlies, in my opinion. I mean, Clark is a hustle player, wing. He's one of those guys that can guard 1 through 5. Obviously you don't want him matched up against a point guard, but he's one of those guys that I think he on pick and rolls. I've seen him match up well against the point guard, and this is just a bad time for the Grizzlies, Cade. Right? I think they had 4 starters out against the Clippers, or not starters, 4 rotation players out. I wasn't watching the game too closely, but it was like Ja, Bane, 2 other guys. This is bad vibes out of Memphis. Bad vibes.
Yeah, it's not looking good. I mean, obviously the injury with Brandon Clark, not great. You've got the whole situation with John Morant being suspended 2 games, having a great time on Instagram Live. We'll have to see how that impacts everything. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at this point, especially if he decides to take time away himself. Who was it? Was it Desmond Bane or Dylan Brooks who got the 1-game suspension because he received his 16th technical of the season?
I'm not sure, actually.
It was
Brooks.
Yeah, that's what I thought exactly. It was Dylan Brooks in that situation. I mean, this is the classic. I mean, this is a classic example of a young team that has no veteran leadership, and that is out there trying to prove something that they don't even need to prove. So it's crazy to see how this is all coming down, working out for the Grizzlies. Which, I mean, they're sitting in the 2nd overall seed right now. Which, by the time the regular season over and the playoffs start, where do you think they're sitting? Because I can't imagine them. I mean, they're going to be up there, I think. I mean, we're only talking about 19 games left in the season, but I mean, this team is falling apart.
I think they might have the top 4 seeds locked in, honestly, Kate. Especially if Ja comes back in 2 games. I think they'll be fine sitting on top of the standings. They're one of those teams that take the regular season really serious. They play hard. I'm not too worried about them falling in standings. It's just, man, bad vibes, bad timing for all this to go down. Ja's suspension, it sounds like it's going to get extended. More word on that later, I guess. But like you said, missing a veteran leadership. Okay, I mean, just looking at this roster, they really have no vets. It's kind of surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not doing good. I mean, they're losing a close game to the Grizzlies right now. But yeah, lack of veteran leadership. I mean, I think there's a lot of conversation of who's their head coach?
Jenkins.
Jenkins. That's what I thought. Taylor Jenkins. I mean, there had to have been talks of at least him being one of the finalists for Coach of the Year. I think that's out the window now because you look at the amount of just trash that's happening around the team. It's ridiculous. I mean, this team is set, and I mean, they're even in a position now where they're set to possibly play a team like the Timberwolves in the first round. Which, I mean, you look at something like that happening if the Timberwolves get the 7 seed, a rematch of last year's playoff first round. This is a team. I mean, this is a team that even if they finish the second overall seed, I could very much see them losing in the first round, especially with the way this team's played out as of recently. So falling apart at our hands, and they're just doing it all themselves. I mean, not to say it, or not ironically, but no pun intended here, but literally shooting themselves in the foot. So it's not a good look. And of course, obviously, the Brandon Clark situation, just an added wrinkle to that. What can you really do about that? Another one out, Lonzo Ball, knee injuries. Now, again, this is you look surprised there.
I mean, what is going on with Lonzo Ball?
Yeah.
I mean, NBA, they got to have the best doctors in the world, and they're saying they've never seen something like this. Like, they don't know what's wrong with his knee. Okay, what is going on? What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is
Lonzo Ball out?
I mean, this number 2 pick in the draft. I mean, this dude was a potential superstar. Magic Johnson saying he was the next. Lonzo Ball was the next Magic Johnson, and this dude, he might. I mean, what is he gonna be like? Just a role player in the NBA the rest of his career?
God, I mean, that's what it's shaping up to. I really liked him in a Pelicans uniform. I think he did good. I thought he was going to be a really good fit in Chicago, and he was for some time last season. I thought he was worked really well with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. I thought they were going to be a team that could really show themselves, especially in the playoffs. Obviously, not going to be the favorites coming out of the East, but having the potential to really put themselves in a position to maybe be a dark horse every once in a while that was going to for sure make the playoffs, but find themselves in the 5 or 6 seed. But yeah, Lonzo Ball's falling apart. I mean, you have DeMar and oh my God, Zach LaVine, who are playing good basketball, but they just have absolutely no help around them. So
I will say they've looked better since they've traded for Patrick Beverley. But Kate, real quick, I pulled up the Lonzo injury report. You know how long? Do you know how long he's been out?
I feel like I haven't seen him play it all this season.
14 months. And
jeez.
When he was originally ruled out or injured, he was ruled out for 6 to 8 weeks.
What did it say with what? Because I know it was a knee issue, but
I don't have it pulled up with what. But I mean, he's just been sidelined since then. Oh man,
that's ridiculous. I mean, this is almost, it reminds me of what happened with Kawhi back when he was in San Antonio. Right before he got traded to Toronto. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a trade situation coming up after the season ends. Maybe you find Lonzo Ball in a different. I personally think you will find Lonzo Ball in a different uniform by the start of next season, but we'll have to see how that all plays out. I think, and just in general, I mean, you look at both the Ball brothers now that are out for the rest of the season. It just seems that Lonzo Ball is in a much different situation than, of course, his brother LaMelo, who we can talk about right now. Another team that's not going anywhere. Another team that, whether LaMelo Ball was healthy or not, they weren't going to find themselves in any playoff situation. But still, something like this, I mean, it sucks to see, considering that it was a very similar. It looked like a very similar injury that happened to LeBron. Only difference is this was a fracture in his foot rather than a tendon issue, and it has him out for the rest of the season. Which, I guess, in a situation, if you're somebody like MJ and the Hornets front office, you can look at this as a possible bright side. You can look at the bright side possibly and say, okay, we now have the chance of getting the number 1 overall pick in the draft this upcoming draft. Blanking on the kid's name right now. I'm surprised because he's the next generational star.
Scoop.
No, Frenchie.
Victor.
Yeah, Victor Wembanyama. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. I mean, I think you can look at this on the positive side of the Hornets organization.
It's a positive thing if you're looking at a number 1 draft pick, but at the same time, do you really want MJ developing one of these guys? I mean, the Hornets, how many misses have they had besides LaMelo Ball?
Tough. I mean, yeah, I was thinking about it the other day.
I'll real quick on LaMelo Ball, Cade. He's having some serious ankle injuries. This is reminding me of Steph Curry early in his career. Remember how he kept having those ankle injuries and he had to come out with those high top shoes, and we still see him wearing the double braces on both of his ankles. But man, only being able to play 36 games, and I feel like it was always that ankle that was keeping him out. Obviously, out rest of the season now. I mean, long term, you really just hope LaMelo can figure out this ankle issues. I don't know if it's the shoes. I mean, the Pumas, I haven't hooped in them. I don't know too many people that have hooped in them, but I feel like they're mid top, high top ish. So man, I hope they can figure this out quick.
Yeah, no, it definitely looks like they give ankle support. I don't think it's a situation where he's because you even look at the way that the injury happened. It didn't look like it was really anything out of. It didn't really look like it was anything bad. He stepped down. Obviously, he said it was obvious that he was in pain, but it wasn't like he rolled his ankle. It wasn't like there was really any hard impact to look like. He just stepped awkwardly, at least from what I mean. He didn't even look like he stepped awkwardly. It just obviously happened because we're looking at a fractured ankle right now. Like if that wasn't the case, I would have seen that and just seen it maybe as like a slight hustle play where maybe he got a little shove in the back and he's just trying to catch himself. But again, you look at that injury, it didn't look like it could be really anything connected to the shoes itself or the equipment. I think it just had to do with just taking a bad step and it leading to that. I don't think that was a situation that really could have been avoided in LaMelo Ball's case. But no, I definitely see where you're coming from. He's had a lot of ankle injuries in the past. I think that's something to really look into if you are LaMelo, to try doing something, whether it's wearing ankle braces or some sort of maybe high top shoe, looking at the next Puma shoe that he makes, something high top. But yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with the equipment. I don't think it has to do anything really realistically about his playing style in general either. I think it was literally just a bad step resulted in that, and now he's out for the rest of the season, which of course you look at LaMelo, it's tough. One of the young stars in the league. I mean, had the opportunity to win Rookie of the Year a few years back.
All-Star last year, I think.
Exactly. All-Star last year. I mean, he's a great competitor, fierce competitor, a great player. Just sucks that has to happen to him. Things to look forward to if you're the Charlotte Hornets, if you're trying to talk about draft choices at this point. But as you mentioned, with being developed by MJ, not necessarily something that I think a lot of players really want to do right now. So that's the tough part. But we'll finish with, obviously, LeBron James, his injury, what was it? It was just a tendon issue. Again, rolled his ankle. He said he felt a pop. Nothing too serious. But of course, I mean, he's rolling around in a scooter right now in a boot. He's going to be out for a pretty significant amount of time. I mean, 3 weeks at minimum. Danny, I'll let you start with this one, obviously, just because it's your Lakers, but also just, I mean, you're talking about Lakers being one of the top teams in the West now. You think that this team is obviously going to be much better when LeBron comes back, and they're playing good without him right now. But I mean, what's the next step for this Lakers team if they're trying to throw themselves back in playoff contention?
The biggest thing for the Lakers is LeBron's going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. Reevaluated? We need him back in 3 weeks. We don't need him reevaluated in 3 weeks. So LeBron has to get healthy. And that's just been the biggest story for this Lakers team. It's AD or LeBron. Last time these two were healthy at the end of the season, they were up 2-1 against the Suns a year ago. Last time they were, when they're healthy, in 2020 they won a championship. So if these guys, if we can get LeBron back, I think we're going to be fine. 2-2 since LeBron went down. And I mean, you saw the game, Kade. I was keeping up with it. They took down Steph and the Warriors. Steph, I know first game back, he looked fine. AD just took over. And this is giving me like, I think this Lakers roster is good enough for LeBron to be able to miss time and the Lakers can win enough games. I'm just looking down their schedule, Kade. It's not that tough. Let's just go through next 3 weeks. Maybe LeBron comes back in 3 weeks. They're going to play 4 playoff teams. The Grizzlies, we just talked about how they're in turmoil right now. Knicks, they're going to lose that. Knicks have been balling out 9 straight. I'm prepared to lose against that team. Mavs, 2-7 with Kai and Luka. I know Mavs sounds scary, but they haven't been playing that great. And then they got and then they got the Suns. The Suns. Sorry, they're not gonna beat the Suns. Other teams they're gonna play next 3 weeks. Raptors. I'm not scared. Pelicans, no Zion. Rockets, they should win that. Magic, they should win that. So they don't have a tough schedule. And this Lakers roster is good enough to win these games because AD is playing like AD and when he was in New Orleans, when he was the number 1 option. 38 against Golden State earlier today, a couple of days ago in a loss against Timberwolves. Timberwolves, good team, 6th seed, 38 points. I mean, and that's on Gobert's head too. 2.5 games behind the 6th seed. D-Lo day to day. I think the Lakers can squeeze in the playoffs or play-in. I think they can lock in the play-in game. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you look at where they're
even with LeBron out.
I mean, they're a game and a half out of the playoff, a locked-in playoff spot. It's not unheard of. I think honestly, you look at the top 13 teams in the league, which is, or not the league, top 13 teams in the West, any of them have a shot to make the playoffs. I mean, you look at Portland, who is currently sitting in the 13th spot, and they're only 2.5 out from the 6th spot. I mean, you're talking about parity. That's ridiculous to see. You're talking about a team like Dallas, Clippers. I mean, the Pelicans, the Jazz shouldn't be in there, but they are right now. You're talking about right now. You're looking at this and you're saying 4 teams comfortably have a spot in the playoffs. The other ones, it is going to come down to game 82 of the regular season. It is going to be the last one. I mean, look at it right now. The Lakers are in the 11th spot right now. They're sitting just outside the 10th. Only reason they're sitting outside of the 10th is because of the head-to-head matchups they've had against Utah this season. They have the same record, 14 and a half games back out from obviously the number 1 spot, but they are right there. They're in a playing spot practically right now. It could really go anyway. To put it simply, it could go anyway. It's going to be a situation where this is going to go down to game 82. Once game 82 is played, obviously it could end up, again, as mentioned, in any situation. By the time the play-in game starts, this is where you're really going to start to see this is going to be a classic example to figure out what team really deserves to be there, what team doesn't. Well, I've talked about in the past. I feel like we may have the same opinion on this if I remember correctly. I don't like the idea of the plan. I think it's a dumb idea. I think just go with the top 8 teams and you're set. This is a perfect example of why Adam Silver has actually been smart about using a plan, because you're talking about the difference between 6th and 10 being the game and a half. It shows that it's not necessarily something that we need a plan for, but it shows that there are these very, very minor fluctuations that have made the difference in this season so far. If you took the top 8 teams right now, again, you'd have, or my bad, 2 games out. The difference between, no, my bad, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2.5 games out. 2 games between 10 and 7. If you were to take the difference between 8 and 9, it's a game and a half difference. Again, as mentioned, this could go either way by the time the playoffs do come around, and you are playing a game 82. I don't like the plan. I think it's a dumb idea. I think realistically it should just be kept to that 8-team playoff, go straight into the 7-game series to start it off. But it's odd to say that Adam Silver played this out perfectly in this situation, because this is exactly what he wanted a play-in situation for, because of what you're looking at right now. Like, we know Utah really, they have played good this season, but they don't really deserve to be there. Lakers, I think, in my opinion, have played better than the Jazz. Actually, that's the only team I'd say, the Lakers, as of now. Portland played better at the beginning of the season.
But okay, if you just look at the teams ahead of them, Jazz have lost 3 straight. Pelicans just lost a game. Clippers beat the jawless that's a funny word. The jawless Grizzlies tonight by 6 points. Before that, Kate, they were 0-5 with Russell Westbrook. And then the Mavericks, I just listed out how they're 2-7. I don't know. I like to lock up the Lakers here. I know. We're kind of running high on time. I'm good to move on unless you got something else to say, kid.
All I'll say is that by that game 82, by the time we hit the end of the regular season, I would be, if I was a Lakers fan and I was sitting in that 11th spot by the time that day was over, I would be furious, because you're sitting out of a playoff spot by probably less than a game. Probably a game and like a half a game, like somewhere right around that. And even that's still, you can still say that the Lakers could still fall to the 13th overall seed in the West and still be out by half a game and a half, something like that. So it's gonna. The fan bases that end up being excluded from the playoffs because of how close everything is, they're gonna be furious. But that's what happens. It's just
okay. One more thing.
The NBA has.
One more thing. $10 for the Lakers to win the championship gets you $550. Just throwing that out there.
That's not terrible. I'm not. I wouldn't do it. That's not terrible.
I already did it.
Yeah, I know you already did. All right, you want to hit fit of the week?
Let's do it.
All right, real quick. I meant to start the show off with this because I actually have to go through the process of making this happen. This is going to be the week that we actually put out a poll for what we're going to end up doing for the final punishment. Not necessarily a poll. We're just going to get opinions out there from Twitter. I'll find a time to maybe make a graphic. We'll see. We're going to get this punishment figured out. Maybe not by the end of the week, but we're going to have ideas by the end of this week. I can guarantee you that right now. With that being said, you lost last week. You're sitting at 8-4. Not too much time left in the season. We might count playoffs too. We'll see. But
If you're
Danny,
feeling nice, we'll count playoffs. Okay.
exactly.
Let's just call it till the semester.
Okay,
Let's just
just
call it
end of the
there.
semester. Well, even
Yeah.
then too. I mean, that would include playoffs too. I mean,
Okay, then yeah, let's
first
do
round.
playoffs.
So yeah,
Okay,
regular season and then first round. So that takes us to the end of the semester.
cool.
I'll go first. We'll touch on these a little later, but I got PJ Tucker. Clean. I was gonna say it definitely looks like PJ Tucker. There's no way that's not what the shoes he's wearing. Clean look. He's wearing the Tiffany & Co. Air Force Ones. All blue, going monochrome, going some black. Overall, just a great look. A little heavy on the chains, in my opinion, but you can't go wrong with it. But everything just works so smoothly with this outfit. So I got to go PJ Tucker.
Kate, I sent my league fits to your wrong Instagram account.
Oh, you sent it the hacked one?
Yeah, my bad. And then for
tough.
some reason, like my DMs aren't popping up anymore on there. So I don't know what happened there.
Oh God, dude, that's tough.
So hold on, let me pull up who I got. But I went with Vando, Jared Vanderbilt.
Oh, two times. Dang, back-to-back weeks with Jared.
Hey, he's kind of slept on. I wasn't familiar with his game. When with this fit, Kate, I'll send it to you in a sec. I don't know what the quality's looking like right now.
What you got? I saw it earlier. Yeah.
Okay. White on whites with dark denim, and then he's got dark leather jacket up top. Kate, I've been rocking with the leather jackets lately. I don't know what it is. I know springtime's coming up, summertime's coming up, but I'm really liking the leather jackets. And this is how you put it together. Let the leather jacket do the talking. So, Vando, welcome to the club.
Hey, second time, back-to-back weeks for you. I mean, the WNBA jacket, I like it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of this fit though. I'll just keep it simple. I mean, it's a simple fit. Just I don't know, can't get behind it. Not a huge fan of it.
Okay.
But yeah, obviously, hop on social media for that. Instagram, Twitter. We'll have this one up as soon as possible. Probably, I don't know. We'll see how things go, but we'll have this up very soon. We'll have the poll up for what the punishment should be. So make sure you hop on Instagram, Twitter, all that. Make sure you vote for that. Give me another win. Keep me locked in that number one spot. But all right, let's finish it off. I just generalized as luxury collabs. Let's find the exact release date on these, but obviously the Nike,
March 7th, I think.
March 7th. Okay, that's what I thought. March 7th. Oh, shoot, that's tomorrow. Or 2 days from now. 2 days from now. So Tuesday, March 7th, the Tiffany & Co. Nike Air Force Ones. Danny, I first off, I just want your opinion on how these look, how you feel about these, and then we'll go from there, kind of going off some of those other collaborations.
Hey, come on. These got to be the laziest collab with a luxury brand shoes that I've seen. I think they're a clean shoe. Don't get me wrong. I would rock these. But if we're talking luxury material, and Tiffany, such a hyped collab with, how important the dunk was in 2005 when that Tiffany dunk released. Man, that was the wave of dunks, and people are still trying to cop the Tiffany dunks. I think resale still goes for over $1,000 on those Tiffany's. They've tried to recreate the kind of that Tiffany hype with other dunks in the past. But when these released, when pictures surfaced, I think it's a clean shoe. But I gotta say, I think it's a lazy execution, and I was very disappointed. And I'm not dropping $400 on retail on these.
No, I agree. Okay, so I'm not dropping 400. I think the execution wasn't there. I think they could have done a little bit more with it to make it a little bit more standout. Even maybe kind of base it off the Tiffany & Co. dunks that they dropped. Kind of mimic that. Kind of bring that back, that nostalgia there. The one thing I do like about it is that the quality of the shoe does look good.
It looks crazy.
It's, I mean, a suede upper. It looks like a really nice tumbled leather where they used it. The rope laces. I mean, you look at the back, you have the little metal, I don't even know what you'd call that, but the little metal plate stitched to the back. Overall, I mean, I think it's a good-looking shoe, but again, execution isn't there. I think they could have done a little bit better with that. And who knows, maybe that was Tiffany's design idea. They wanted something a little bit less flashy, a little bit more smooth, a little bit more classy in a sense, because that's kind of what I get out of this. It's not a shoe that's meant to be flashy. It's a shoe that's meant to be classy. At least coming off an Air Force One, it's how classic can you get with an Air Force One? They're trying to do something with that. But
I will say I don't really like how that leather looks kind of cheap where the laces are, and like the lace lock is on the bottom. I don't know. Other than that, I think it looks beautiful, that suede upper, but I don't know. I don't really like that leather up top. Do you know what I'm talking about? That tumbled leather.
Yeah, yeah. I could see where you're coming from. I like it though. I'm not necessarily
Okay.
upset about that. I think it adds a different. I mean, the texture definitely adds a different characteristic to the shoe. I'm gonna come with a little bit of a hot take though, and you might be disappointed with it. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe you agree with me. I think realistically, the more well known and the more high end the collab is, with whether it's Adidas, whether it's Nike, it doesn't matter what it is. It seems to lack a lot more value than a lot of the other collaborations out there. I think it's I think these high end companies, high end brands keep themselves to a standard that limit the creativity, limit the design, limit the look of the shoe, and it just doesn't necessarily look the way that I think it could look if it was done in a different way. If it was given to the designers of maybe these small boutiques that you see Nike collaborating with. I mean, like, look at Bodega. I mean, they think they've put together, I mean, not small in that situation, but I mean, they put together some really good collaborations in the past. Union, something that I don't think a lot of people really knew about up until the time that Nike released their Union 4s. Another example of a little bit out there, but something that has a lot more of a unique and creative outlook to it. I mean, you look at things like Tiffany & Co. You look at things like, I mean, Adidas and Gucci, if you I mean, this was probably a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago at this point. I'll even throw the Louis Vuitton Off-White Nike collaboration in there.
Definitely.
Not a fan of that collaboration at all. I know a lot of people are hyped about it. Not a fan of that collaboration at all.
I think that Louis V and Nike collab is 10 times better than this Tiffany pair that's about to drop, and the Dior and Nike collab is 100 times better than this Tiffany drop.
Yeah, okay, so I agree with that. I think both collabs are better. I think the one reason why I don't like the Air Force or the Nike Off White Louis the LV collab, I feel like they went a little bit too. They're trying to sell the name way too hard. You know, this was right after Virgil's death. They were trying to throw. I mean, it's seriously, in my opinion, it looks like something.
It looks so clean. They dropped different multiple colorways too.
And that's the thing, is that they have some that look clean, but I think the majority as a whole don't look great at all. I think it's very basic. I think it's very just. I mean, for Off-White, first off, I'll say this. I mean, for Off-White, this is probably one of the most limited. It seems like it was one of the most limited shoes they've had. You know, it seemed like Louis Vuitton was really running that collaboration, but they wanted some Off-White in there just to add a little bit of a streetwear kind of style to it. They seem limited. I like what Off-White does, especially when they've collaborated with Nike in the past. They were limited in this situation. Louis Vuitton was running the show. I like in this. I don't like that collaboration. I'm just not a fan of it.
I really think the color blocking on those is just perfect. The simple colors, right? I think it was green, blue, orange, I want to say, and then they had like that the brown pair. But I think on all the shoes, they didn't mess up the color blocking at all. Perfect execution in my opinion on those shoes. Whereas this Tiffany shoe, it's just blue on the swoosh, right?
Yeah. No, that's the thing though. It's like, I agree. I think you looked at the options for these Louis Vuitton Off-White ones. I mean, they look. You're right. The color blocking was there. They looked good. I think it was when it comes to color blocking, for the most part, they got that down right. I just think there were some of those shoes that they really did not need to include in that. Like, I mean, you cannot tell me this is only a good looking shoe.
Like, what if they only drop the brown pair, right? I kind of know what you mean.
Yeah, the brown pair. Like, I think if they only drop the brown pair, first off, this is a much more hyped collab than a lot. I think probably one of the most hyped collabs in the decade, if you ask me. Just because I think in general, and the thing with that is that you have aspects of it that encompass Off-White, but you also have aspects of it that really encompass Louis Vuitton. And I think that's what a lot of people really liked about it. Whereas some of the other collaborations they had, or the other shoes they had, where it was the like typical color blocking, whether it was blue, red, green, it looked good, but you're lacking that true Louis Vuitton staple that you're known for. I think, which again, not necessarily bad. I just can't get behind it. You know, I think again, it seemed like Nike was throwing three big names out there trying to get people to buy it, and people definitely did. They limited it. They didn't make it easy to get.
I think I got a pretty good question for you, because I know I kind of get where you're saying where you're at, and I kind of agree with you. This is going back to a point you made way earlier, where it's like Nike doesn't give too much creative control to these designers, really, to do much.
Well,
what's your opinion on? Let me go with this. What's your opinion on how Nike executes luxury what's it called, collabs versus New Balance. Whereas New Balance, their collabs with luxury and boutiques, they give the boutiques all the creative control.
Well, it's okay. So first off, let me clarify that. I think Nike, there's a lot more creative capabilities when you're talking about the smaller boutiques compared to the luxury brands. I don't think luxury brands put as much emphasis on a collaboration with something like Nike because they've already established themselves. They don't need that collaboration to still find success. They're just doing this just to kind of get some more exposure. Whereas with these boutiques and these brands, you could give them the same level of you can give them the same level, but they're going to go all out with it because they know this is their opportunity to really put themselves on the map. You look at New Balance, you might have to help me remember if there were any real big luxury brands that
Maybe
worked
not
with New
luxury,
Balance.
but I was thinking more boutiques where it's like they let them do whatever they want to the shoes.
And that's what I actually think is really cool because you look at the way that Nike does it is that I can think of two off the top of my head that significantly changed the look of a shoe and like really went out there and made it look something like the same shoe make it look completely unique and different compared to what it really is. I mean, you have that with the Union 4s and some of the other Union collaborations, and you have that with when Bodega does collaborations with Nike. I mean, I remember I think
AM,
2 3 years
AMA
back
most
now.
recently.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, with them, they go a little bit more outside of the box with the colors that they're going for.
That's true.
They don't really go out too far trying to change the silhouette of the shoe itself. Even with Bodega, they didn't necessarily go crazy far out there changing the silhouette, but they added key elements that weren't in the initial silhouette that made it unique to their brand. Um, Whereas with New Balance, again, they're working with these small designers, these small boutiques, all that stuff, and as you mentioned, they let them have these full creative capabilities with it, but they provide. I mean, it seems like you have, for example, let's take the 990 V3, or what was it, the 992 2002, whatever shoe it was, where they had the most recent pack that a lot of people ended up hopping on. I'll have to look up the name of it specifically, but you
I
have
think
that
it was
pack.
the 990s and 993s. Yeah,
But yeah, you have that pack. But then you compare it to something like the Joey Fresh Goods that he collaborated with New Balance on. Completely different look. Its silhouette might be the same, but it doesn't feel like the same silhouette with when you have one pair compared to the other. Salim Brembury, I hope I'm saying his name right,
yep.
did the exact same thing with some of the same silhouettes. Like every silhouette is truly unique and different to its own design, and it looks great, but at the same time, it still keeps the integrity of that New Balance style and uniqueness that it kind of has that dad style shoe compared to the other shoes compared like Nike and Adidas. I mean, it's they I think I can safely say when it comes to collaborations, and it might just be because New Balance doesn't come out with a lot of collaborations, but when it comes to collaborations, New Balance is the one company that has truly been able to do it right. So recently, as of recently, not all time, Nike's had some amazing collaborations, and of course, they're going to continue to collaborate because they're the top sneaker brand in the world. But just in general, I there has not been a New Balance collaboration that has truly been a disappointment. All of them have hit the way that they've expected them to. It goes. You can't say that about
Hey,
Nike. You can't say that
I
about
think it
Adidas.
goes back to our take where we both said we think this is the year New Balance jumps over Adidas, right?
Oh, 100%, especially with Kanye leaving. It was the protection pack. That's what I was thinking about for New Balance. It was the 2002 Rs was the
Oh,
model they
okay.
went off of. Yeah, I think just in general, with obviously having to remove Kanye from your brand at Adidas, and just honestly the lack of silhouettes that Adidas really has to provide. I mean, I know Sambas are really big right now, but realistically, how much can a
I
Samba
mean,
really carry?
those aren't even like new silhouettes.
Exactly. It's nothing new. It's nothing different. So, how much can that really carry you? That's the big thing here. New Balance, plenty of silhouettes, plenty of opportunities to collaborate with those silhouettes and ways to make it unique and different and new in your own way. And it looks amazing. Like I'm looking at it, you have collaborations with the 550, which is, I think, the most unique shoe in the typical like silhouettes that New Balance has. All of them kind of fit that dad style shoe. The 550 is in its own category when it comes to New Balance silhouettes. But even then, I mean, you look at the God, who's the Rich Paul, the collaboration there look good, simple but look good. But then you start straying away from that 550, which has made itself so popular in today's age, and you start looking at some of the other collaborations like the 2002R or the 990 V3 or whatever version it is that they decide to go with, the 993. I mean, there's so many different collaborations that fit that dad style aesthetic, but they just look so much better, which is actually crazy to think about because I think a lot of people are so hit or miss with dad's shoes and those kind of more chunkier shoes. But New Balance has done it in a way where it looks so good, and you just kind of have to recognize the beauty in it, whether you like the silhouette or not.
Hey, you hit it on the nail, Kade. I think that's a wrap, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I will say this: I think the one shoe that you can make the argument for not being a really great New Balance shoe would be the Jaden Smith, the visor racers from New Balance. But even then, there are still ways that you can
Let
style
me
that
pull that
around.
up.
I'm not. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it in my personal opinion. But again, it's not something I've seen people style it, and people have made it look good. It's just not necessarily something that I can pull up and actually work with on a consistent basis. Unlike the other New Balance collaborations that they've had.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not rocking with those Jane Smiths.
Yeah, exactly. No, it just doesn't look good. But yeah, Danny, you got anything else?
No, sir. Hey, Lakers, $10 to win 500. That's all I'll say, Kade.
Danny, I want you to succeed. I want you to get as much out of it as possible, but I do not want the Lakers to win. For the love of God, I do not. Did it
I
end
will
up being
say,
a short?
I also bet on the Suns to win, and I also bet on the Bucks to win. So I got a couple things going. Yeah.
Then the Celtics are probably going to win, or the Nuggets are going to win. Let's be honest here. That's how it works.
Yeah.
All right, Danny, you got nothing else, right?
No.
All right, that was it. All right. Again, we try to keep it a short show. Obviously, wasn't the case. Still hit an hour, but once again, we thank you guys so much for joining us. If you've hit your spring break, make the best of it. Have a great time this week. Don't have too much fun, but of course, make it something memorable. Obviously, make sure that by next Sunday, you're here to catch us once again. We'll have some good stuff coming up.
You got to be here too.
Oh, I'll be. Trust me, I'll be here. I know. I'll keep it safe. You know me. I like to keep it relaxed, chill. But as mentioned, we'll love to have you guys back next week. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, spring break, wherever you're at. Once again, we'll see you next time.